then that comes in and
Oh yeah, but you totally hear it.
yeah, gives you some low end. This one in particular
Yeah.
is just a little blip, which then turns it into this.
We're here with René Boscio. René was kind enough to jump on with us and quickly show us. I just loved his piece and his demo for shortwave, and he's doing a lot of really interesting things with the library. And I thought it'd be fun to do like a walkthrough of your piece, and then just see where that leads us, and maybe go into the individual sounds, and also you used a little bit of like plugins and
Sure.
manipulated stuff a little bit further. So I'd love to hear about that as well.
Yeah, totally. Let's do it. So I'll just press play here.
Awesome. I love how dry it is and just how immediate, just really raw and in your face.
Yeah, I've been really into like not using very much like reverb or delay or stuff. Like I've been more into like that intimate dry sound lately. I don't know why.
Yeah. What's interesting too is a lot of the sounds sort of have, like the way I process them, there is reverb and delay and that kind of thing. But what's cool about when you have a processed sound and then you don't add processing on top, or you don't add the reverb delay on top, you can still get those really tight, like start stop kind of vibes.
Yeah, and that was something that I went in for most of them was adjusted the envelope so that the release was much shorter than how it typically comes out.
Yeah.
Just because I was going for that kind of piece that was more sharp around the edges. If you
Yeah, which is really easy to do with the engine just right there on the amp envelope, and tweak away. When you started the piece, what was the first thing that got you sort of going down the path you?
so I literally had this the way that you see the screen right here. That's kind of how it went in terms of like how I started building things. This was the first element that I came across and really kind of like what kickstarted the way I wanted to go about the piece.
And then what did you did a little bit of EQ, I see, and
Right. So this is Alter Boy from
yeah,
Sound Toys.
that's what I thought. All right.
So basically this might have just been like a tuning thing,
Yeah.
you know what I'm saying? Where I thought it was like a little sharp or something and I wanted to like really sink into the other samples or something like that. So yeah, sometimes I'll do that. Or also if some especially some like string plugins at times won't allow you to pitch bend for whatever reason.
I
So
know
I
I
tend
hate
to
that. Yeah, I hate.
yeah. So I resort to Alter Boy to just like
Okay, cool.
do some like bending or stuff like that in very subtle ways, that it doesn't sometimes it won't even go up to like a full step, or something like that.
Okay.
But yeah, that kick started it along with this other sound, which is also from the same
Right.
uh
Menu.
program. And so that was just a very sharp attack. And so if I just play it dry,
Mhm.
it's just that.
That's just a blip.
But then I add this is the thermionic culture vulture from the UAD,
Okay.
which is kind of like one of my go-to for grit.
Nice.
And then some Echo Boy, and then I just rolled off well, I have some automation here going on, both for the filter, right after a certain point in the track, I wanted to just completely cut down. Right, so that's how it starts, and then it becomes this. So then it's just more rolled off and more muted.
Right.
And then I also have some automation on the Echo Boys
Wow.
mix, so that it cuts off the echo, you know.
Yeah, that's awesome.
So that it's not just kind of like the same rhythm all the time.
Okay.
It was just also to help with the pockets of silence, because I wanted the sound to have the delay, but I didn't want it like sneaking into the pockets of silence that I was trying to create within the track.
Right, which was what we were talking about in the beginning.
Yeah.
Interesting.
So then this next element, which is just a bit of a flutter,
Cool.
you know, different I guess you can see here they're different samples,
right,
but basically do the same effect, where it's just giving us a little bit of a swell.
Okay.
And then one of my favorite sounds from the library was like, I gotta be like, I think the basses were probably what inspired me the most in terms of how punchy and big they were.
Oh, cool.
This one in particular, you know, I didn't do much to it, other than a little compressor and clipping and EQ to roll off the low end. And the compressor that I have here for most of them is just to sidechain the kick that comes in later on, you know.
Okay. Did you program the stutter?
Yeah, so we'll get to that stutter in a second, because that's like a whole track wide stutter. But yeah, so this phrase is just me playing it in. You can see here on the, you know, it's just kind of like me making my own melody.
Yeah.
There are other elements that kind of like get to the stutter earlier than that.
Okay.
You have this low kind of like swell here, which is the LFO Radio Lead.
Right. Nice. Okay.
And like I said, I don't think I really did anything to these, because that was kind of like, you know, I feel like when I'm doing a demo for a library, I try to keep things as out of the box as they can, because I think that's kind of like the point of it too. And then obviously people can go to town with like tweaking stuff how they want. But I think there's stuff that's so cool out of the box that I don't think it's necessary to tweak very much.
Right.
And then before that whole section, I also had this swell here from the Suspense Lead one. Oh, you know what? Actually, no, that's not even a swell. That's just a sub layer that I had, again, for contrast in, you know, when things were pretty dry up here, then that comes in and just gives you some.
Oh yeah, you totally hear it. You feel it.
Yeah, it gives you some low end, but then it's out really quick. Yeah. So for that one, I did pitch down the virtual instrument 24, like 2 octaves down, just because I wanted to get that low end over there. And then, right, so then I do have this other lead here, which is, it builds up to the stutter from the Dream Bell, I guess the Sputnik's Dream Bell lead.
Cool.
So it's just some tension to add to the whole thing, you know. I do have the Thermionic Culture Vulture plugin there again for added saturation.
Okay.
Yeah, I think there's some filter play as well, which you kind of could see on the track automation here.
Right.
So I was writing that and opening it up.
Yeah.
And so I guess that kind of takes us to the stutter. I mean, there's a little bit here that maybe comes a little bit before. Right. So then, yeah, so I have this Unruly Lead one. So I just loaded the stock Logic tremolo to help give me some, you know, just some tremolo there.
Yeah. Yeah, you turned it into a pulse.
Right. So then I just turned it into a pulse. So then, yeah. So then that also kind of like, so I guess if you want to look at the stutter,
Mm.
it's as simple as just some volume automation
Ah, look at that.
on the mix bus.
Eight
That's all it is.
bucks. That's so funny.
Yeah. That's all it is.
Like I've always like done a pre-record of the whole thing and then I just cut out the audio and then like bounce again, but like
Yeah.
not do it that way.
Yeah. So all you got to do is figure out what rhythm you want the stutter,
Right.
adjust the subdivision so you can get it right on how you want it, and that's it.
That's awesome.
So then, there's a few other elements here that appear. So like the main kind of like driving force of this section is the kick. Which is the Ethereal wave lead. It's pitched down 2 octaves, and it's pretty heavily processed in the sense that, like, if I without any plugins.
Yeah.
Oh, so what I did do on here though, I did use some insert effects on the here.
Yeah.
So you have the scream, the distortion, the jump, and the saturation. So if I were to take all those off,
Yeah. Yeah.
it's just a little blip. But these ones I like, they really grit things up.
Yeah.
And then I did some EQing, and then I added the Ruina distortion plugin from Noise Engineering.
Oh, nice.
Which then turns it into this. Just a lot more. And then some Filter Freak. Yeah, I guess I just wanted to roll off a little bit of the crunchiness.
Okay.
Yeah, so that's just the driving force there. And then there's another pulse here, Machine Pulse 6, which I remember really liking too when I found it. So let me see what this sounds like without, because I also have the thermionic Culture Vulture on here as well. So, I feel like it's already pretty gritty by its own, but I do have the distortion and the saturation on the interface here.
Right.
And then some added thermionic Culture Vulture. So again, just me playing with the phrase that naturally comes and then adding other specific notes to enhance the phrase and kind of make my own, if you will.
Right.
And then the other two elements are just drones to get us out of the queue, like swells. This one, it's a room tone drone.
Did you put?
And so there's a tremolo there that I use.
Yeah.
It's just the Logic tremolo, but I'm automating the rate of it. You can see, so it gets quicker as it builds.
Nice.
And then what's this last one? Just one of the radio chatter reverse feedbacks.
Right. Cool.
Just the very last little thing. So yeah, I mean, it's pretty straightforward. I think, it's not really too much magic or anything like that. Just simple things. I think the library sounds really cool by itself, and it was just, it was fun to put together.
Yeah, cool. What's fun about it is like we develop these sample libraries, and like I have a certain way that I would use my own sample libraries, but it's when I have people like you and other composers do demos, it's just amazing how different everything comes back. And because it's the whole point of sample libraries and sounds and creating our own sounds is to, get a sense of like, well, how can I use this for the specific project I have, or what inspires me? And there's so many ways it can go. And so what's great, what I like seeing about this is how you used it to create music in the way that you wanted to create it, and you put your own stamp on it. And a lot of the things that you were doing, you think are pretty simple and whatnot, but the things that like I've never done, some of the things that you do, I've never thought of doing. And so something like this, where you just get to walk through and kind of hear how you are thinking about it and how you're approaching the sounds is really great.
Yeah. Yeah, that's something that I do often. I use Soundtoys tremolator more than the Logic tremolo, just because it gives me more flexibility in terms of the shape of the tremolo itself. But adjusting the rate of the tremolo is something that I do
Yeah,
all the time.
yeah,
um,
yeah. I'm gonna
yeah.
have to play with.
It's just because I have that kind of like Eurorack modular mentality where I have an LFO or an envelope and I'm sending CV to it to create various things. I've
Right.
ever since I started being more into like hardware synthesizer, I always think like how can I translate those techniques into my DAW where I can have more control with automation or to have be more precise in repeating things and being able to go back to things without just kind of like if it was like the other thing I use a lot are like the Logic MIDI effects. Using like this modulator here from Logic where it gives you an LFO and things, and I can also automate things like that. So those are other tools that since I've gotten into past I don't know 5 6 years, I always approach the DAW now as if it was like just one big modular environment with its limitations. But how can I bring
Right.
those techniques into the box?
Well, the nice thing about being in the box is how you can automate, and then it's like the same each time.
Right,
Like that's
right. Yeah. And something that I try to do that is using like MIDI to CV modules where I can like write the automation as a CC command and then have it translate into CV once it gets to the rack over there. But yeah, other times you do want the unpredictability of LFOs or envelopes doing kind of like their own response over time and things like
so. Can you tell us about your studio assistant?
that. Do you want to come and say hi real quick? My cute little daughter here.
Aw.
Hello.
Well, I appreciate your time and thank you for walking through your queue with us. And thank you for checking out Shortwave. And
Well, do we want to say bye bye?
yeah, you want to say goodbye?
All right.
Bye.
Bye bye. All right. Thanks, Kevin.
Yep, thanks a lot, Renee.